Hello, I welcome you once again to this series of lectures on Z transform. In this series, so far we have seen what is the need of transform, what is Z transform, and what is the use of Z transform. Now, Z transform is basically used to find the frequency domain representation of discrete time signals. And the signals which are not Fourier transformable can be transformed using Z transform. Now, when we discuss the concept of Z transform, we understood that the ROC plays a very important role, the region of convergence. In fact, the definition of Z transform is incomplete without ROC. So, whenever we find the Z transform of a sequence, it is mandatory or it is compulsory to specify its ROC. Without ROC, a Z transform has no meaning. In fact, two different signals can have the same Z transform, that is x of z of two different signals can be same. It is only the ROC which gives the uniqueness to a signal. It is only the ROC which gives uniqueness to a signal. This is the importance of ROC. Therefore, whenever we specify x of z, we have to specify what is the ROC of x of z. Then only it will determine of which signal that Z transform is. Okay, so let us try to understand the different properties of ROC. The first property is ROC. Basically, when we draw the ROC is in the form of a ring, or it is in the form of a shaded circle, or it is a region outside, shaded region outside the circle, or it is the entire Z plane except at 0, or the entire Z plane, or the entire Z plane except at 0 and infinity. Okay, so this is the definition. The ROC is a ring, okay, in the Z plane which is centered at origin. The ROC cannot contain any poles. Why? Because at the pole, what is a pole? A pole is a location in Z plane where the value of the function is infinity. And since region of convergence is a region where x of z is finite, hence the ROC cannot contain a pole, because at a pole x of z is infinity. So this makes sense. Okay. So x of z is equal to infinity at pole, hence ROC does not contain any pole. The ROC has to be a connected region. We cannot have a break. Like if I'm drawing this entire ring, I cannot have a break here in the between. It has to be a complete connected region. I cannot have some part omitted like this. Okay, it has to be a complete connected region. That is the meaning. That is, ROC has to be a complete. It has to be a connected region. Next, now, with regards to different types of signals, if we are dealing with causal finite duration sequences, that means the sequence exists only for positive values of n. Okay, so in this case, you can see this diagram. So this is a causal finite duration sequence. The sequence ends over here. Okay, so for such a region, the ROC is the entire Z plane except at z is equal to 0. Okay, so this is true because we have also seen the numerical on this, okay, in the previous lecture. Now, if it is an anti-causal sequence, that is, it is present for only the negative values, it is present only for the negative values, then what is the ROC? Then the ROC is the entire Z plane again, it is entire Z plane except at z is equal to infinity. Except at z equal to infinity. Because see, we have seen in the numerical, because here we get negative powers of z, here we get positive powers of z. Hence, if you put z equal to 0 here, it will become infinity. If you put z equal to infinity here, it will become infinity. That's why when the depending upon the type of sequence, whether it is causal or anti-causal, we get the ROC. Now, if x of n is a non-causal sequence or a two-sided sequence, and that is, it is containing some positive values, okay, it is containing some negative values, then what is the condition of ROC? Here, the ROC is the entire Z plane except at z equal to 0 and z equal to infinity. That is a combination of both of these, causal and non-causal. Okay, so whenever you specify the ROC of a two-sided sequence, which is a non-causal sequence, we call it as non-causal because it contains both positive values and negative values of n. Okay, so here it is except at z equal to 0 and z equal to infinity. Now, arguing similarly like this was for the finite duration sequences. Okay, these three conditions were for finite duration sequences. Now we can write the similar conditions for infinite duration sequences. So these property number 7, 8 and 9, these are for causal infinite duration sequence, anti-causal infinite duration sequence and infinite two-sided sequence. Okay, so here instead of having the entire Z plane, we have a shaded portion outside the circle, units outside the circle, inside the circle, or in the form of a ring. So when it is a causal infinite duration sequences, the ROC is generally outside the circle. When it is an anti-causal sequence, the ROC is inside the circle. Okay, and when it is non-causal, that it is present for positive as well as negative, generally it is in the form of a ring. So see, it is very interesting to note that just by looking at the ROC, we can understand what the type of sequence it is representing. So this conclusion can be drawn. So whenever we get a ROC in this form, then we can conclude that this is for a causal infinite duration sequence. We get the ROC in this fashion. Okay, so we can conclude that it is for an anti-causal infinite duration sequence. When we get in the form of a ring, we can conclude that it is for a double-sided sequence, which is a non-causal sequence. Okay, and it is infinite duration. Here the dots indicate that this is an infinite duration sequence. Okay, so similarly, whenever you are getting the ROCs, you have to conclude in a similar fashion. Okay, this is for causal finite duration, this is for anti-causal finite duration, and this is for two-sided, that is non-causal finite duration sequence. Okay, so remember these graphs. It is important to understand the concept of ROC and the properties of ROC. And lastly, we have been drawing the unit circle in the ROC. So what is the significance of that unit circle? The unit circle is a very significant thing. See, the ROC of a stable LTI system contains the unit circle. So this is a very important thing. Like if I am having the ROC like this and my unit circle is a part of this ROC, suppose this is my unit circle and this is here, it is 1. Okay, so if the ROC of a stable LTI system contains the unit circle, so looking at the ROC, if we find that the unit circle is inside the ROC, then we can conclude that the system is stable. And if the ROC is not containing the unit circle, it means the system is unstable. So just by looking at the ROC of a system, okay, ROC of in the ROC structure, the ROC diagram, we can we can we can tell about the system stability. So this is a very important thing. Okay, so you have to find out where is the unit circle, whether the unit circle is lying inside the ROC, whether it is lying outside the ROC. If the unit circle is inside the ROC, then the system is stable. If the unit circle is not lying inside the ROC, it is outside the ROC, then the system is unstable. So this is very important thing, that is we can understand about the stability of the system by looking at the unit circle and its location with respect to the ROC. So these are very few important points that we have to remember regarding the properties of ROC. Okay, so it is important to note, because interpretation is important. So when we are getting the ROCs, we have to interpret on the type of signal that is there. Okay, so this is time domain information, this is frequency domain information. So looking at the frequency domain information, we should be able to interpret, we should be able to understand or draw conclusions regarding the time domain information. Okay, so this is the importance and concept of ROC and the properties of ROC. Okay, so we will continue with this session of Z transform, and in the upcoming lecture we will talk about in detail about the properties of Z transform. Just like we have seen now the properties of ROC, we will try to understand few properties of Z transform which are very important, and to try to also solve some numericals based on these properties. Okay, see, properties are very important things. They actually make our task easier. With the help of properties, we can solve the numericals very easily. If we have the knowledge of properties, then it makes our task simpler. Complex numerical problems can be simplified with the help of properties. So it is very important to know the properties of the system. Hence, we will study the properties of Z transform in our upcoming lecture. Thank you.